We come now to the fourth chakra, and here's the beginning of the mystical life. This is at the level of the heart. As I say, its name is Anahata, A-N-A-H-A-T-A, the second A being a long A. Not hit is what that means. The sound that is not made by two things striking together. All the sounds that we hear are made by two things striking together. The sound of my voice is made by the wind brushing over the laryngeal cords. What is the sound that is not made by two things striking together? It is the sound of the energy of the universe, of which all things are a precipitation. It is antecedent to things. It is the sound of the spiritual vibrato, namely Om. You can cover your ears and you can hear it. At this level, that sound is heard. Now, when that sound is heard, it is heard everywhere, in all things, and in oneself. You do not have to quest for it. You cannot lose or gain it. It is simply there. You have come to the realm of peace, and this is where peace is. It can't be in any of the lower chakras.
Okay, here we are live. Okay, welcome everybody. So last week was a giant downer as far as the tech is concerned. I had one of the best intros I think I've ever had on a video, so it was just quite fitting that that would be the actual time that this would happen. So I've done a few things differently this week, and I'm planning on having a little bit of a different routine to try and keep that from happening again. So right now, we're going to get to the comments and make sure that I'm here and that you guys are hearing me, and to say hello. Okay, so let's see. Here we are. Hello, Dusty, Fortune, Katie Cat. Hello. Yes, I love Joseph Campbell myself. That lecture, actually, the one on Om, was right up there with the one that he did on the Grail legend as far as impact in my life. And when he said the words, you can cover your ears and you can hear it, that really helped me understand where he was coming from. And yeah, it just kept growing from there. So I just want to make sure you guys can hear me and we're all good. Now, y'all need to know that my wife is sick tonight, and she's actually going to be in the comments. She's going to be moderating, and I just want to give a warning. She's a Taurus. And you don't want to mess with the bull. So Jen is going to be helping me out. My wife, she'll be in there tonight. And then we also have, I also have another moderator in here. I'm calling them my Jedis. And so they're going to be in here to try and keep things contained. I guess there's been someone who's been quite rude, and we don't want any of that. And we definitely want to have a good time. And I want the chat to be open. So fantastic. Guantanamo Bay, no way. I can't believe that. Are you kidding me? Guantanamo Bay? Are you kidding me? I cannot believe I'm in Guantanamo Bay. I cannot, but that is incredible. So hello. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that. Okay, well, while I'm just kind of perusing the comments, I wanted to make a couple of announcements before we get going here. Now, I received some letters this week from folks. And the first ones I want to address are the folks that are asking me about cancer. Okay, now everyone needs to know that I fought cancer back in, I mean, this wasn't that long ago, but I was, I guess, as far as technology is concerned. I fought cancer back in 2012, and a lot has changed since then. The methods that I used were basically Gerson therapy. I centered on the coffee enema, and I've done a video on that. Homeopathic medicine was critical. I also used an enzymologist, and you can actually use the exact same team that I used to fight cancer, and that group is called Enzymes.com. You can go to their website. It was started by Dickie Fuller. She's now passed away, but she was my doctor. and she started this website called transformationenzymes.com. And it's actually awesome for people even that don't have cancer, because they address the enzymatic system of the body. And as Dr. Fuller taught me, we are enzymatic creatures. We are not necessarily just biological creatures. I know that kind of is a tight fit there, but we're not cellularly driven. We're enzymatically driven. And it is through enzymes that you can heal things like hormonal issues, giving your body enzymes that actually eat cancer cells, that actually help or I should say, watch over your immune system and the liver. I was huge on detoxification because that's what my doctors wanted me to be focused on. And so that's what I did focus on. And enzymes were critical to that detox, as well as coffee enemas. In fact, when I saw my naturopathic doctor, Dr. Danette Goodyear, the only reason she gave me so many homeopathic medicines, I think I was taking upwards of 60 to 70 at a time, was because I was doing coffee enemas, and I would be able to excrete out of my body all of the breakdown that all of that homeopathic medicine was causing in my body, which actually makes you sick, believe it or not, because it releases so many toxins. And I'm sure a lot of you who have done detox understand what liver sickness feels like. It's just this really disgusting feeling that you feel when your liver is really toxified. And so that was all part of my fight. My big thing was detox, because I wanted to erase the reason why I got the cancer, because it didn't make sense to me to just have a tumor removed or just take a bunch of medications when I'm not actually addressing why I got the cancer. So that was my routine. So when you ask me what I did, that was the general practice that I did. I also went to an acupuncturist, Jedi Master Chen, and he handled all of my spiritual cleansing as well as my electromagnetic cleansing, which is very important because that's all a part of you. And that's one of the things that we're all learning about in these lectures that I'm presenting, is learning just how much more we are than what we were conned into believing. And so my fight with cancer really awakened me to my biology, awakened me to my spirituality in a way that I had never experienced. And so all that to say, there is a lot that has changed as far as basic technology is concerned when it comes to fighting cancer these days. And there are drugs like ivermectin and stuff that don't really have a side effect or a negative side effect that really go after the parasites, which is one of the principal reasons why you get cancer, is just the overwhelming amount of parasites that you collect as you just live in everyday life. And as much as they're attacking us now in the food systems, that is one of the ways, or that's one of the things you have to address, is parasites and parasitic infection. And so there are a number of different drugs you can take now over the counter that you can get through Amazon that are actually quite effective at fighting cancer. And so what I'm trying to say is go beyond what I have said. I used the knowledge and technology and ability that I could at the time. But now if I were to have cancer, I would add in these other regimens to that. And then also understand, have hope. Med beds are coming. I know a lot of people hate that word, don't believe in them, think they're garbage, crap, all that stuff. I don't subscribe to the idea. I think that med beds are real, and I think they're coming. So have hope. If you are in the midst of fighting a disease, I do think that the world is changing very quickly now, and I've got something to bring up here when I get started on the lecture that's really going to bring some assurance to you that the good news is coming and that the world is changing. We're not headed for doom, as a lot of people believe. And again, I'm going to be opening up about that. The thing, okay, yeah, I had a gentleman contact me, and he wanted to know about the viability of mushrooms, taking magic mushrooms. And though I'm not a doctor, I'm an entertainer, you could say, and I'm just sharing with you ideas and concepts from my head. None of it is authority. None of it is registered with the state. And so I'll give you my opinion, and you do with it what you wish, okay? So when it comes to psychedelic medicines, okay, first of all, they're very serious, and they're not to be toyed with or played with. Like, you don't play with razor blades. You don't play with heavy equipment, you know? These things you approach seriously. And cannabis and magic mushrooms and so forth, DMT, 5-MeO DMT, these substances you approach with respect and do your homework. Study them. Study and listen to testimonies of people. Arrowid.org is a good place to go to do some homework and get in your ground game and begin to read about the real science and biology behind them, okay? So that would be one of the first things I would do when you're going to be approaching this kind of thing. The second thing is realizing that all of us are brainwashed. We really are, all of us. And it's simply because the way that we're raised in this society in this day and age, and that we're raised to believe like our parents believe. And I'm not chastising that. I'm just saying that's just a reality that we all face. And eventually, someday, you need to break from these ideas your parents gave you, from these adolescent concepts that were handed to you all through your childhood. And eventually you have to come to a point in your adulthood to fully detach from that if you really want to move forward and past adolescent ideas and adolescent approaches to the world. Okay, that's a lot easier said than it is done, because a lot of these ideas and thoughts that you have in your head, you don't even realize that they're there. And the way I like to term it is this. When you were conceived in your mother's womb, your mom already had a certain kind of energy, a certain kind of vibe that she carried. She was a certain way. And the way I see it is the nature, the world is a forest, and it's a forest of opportunity. And your mom, before you were born, had set up a little house or a place where she was living, had a set of friends, possibly a spouse, and these were all a part of her world. Now, when you're conceived and you become biology, you become matter, a portion of you becomes matter, your soul becomes matter, it is affected. It is directly affected by these electromagnetics that your mom and your dad, for that matter, are fomenting, are generating, are evoking in just their everyday life. And it is right at that moment, right at that point, that you begin to form your personality traits, the way you take, the way you see things. And this all begins to happen through the resonances of the electromagnetic currents that are constantly flowing through your mother. Now, if your mom was 3,000 years ago, there would be an entirely different set of world, earth, space electromagnetics, which would be impinging upon you and forming you. And since no moment ever repeats, right? The universe is a constantly expanding enigma. There's never a repeat. Okay, that means that your way, your take, your understanding, even your appearance comes out of these resonances that your mother is generating. Okay, even the way she looks, her face, your father's face, their body, the appearance, the body type. You see, you form into that. That's why you look like your mom and dad. That's why I look like my mom and dad. It's because I have traits from them as I was forming in my mother's tummy, from her DNA. This is going somewhere. Stay with me. And so from that moment of conception until you're born, 8-9 months, okay, right at that point in the world, the earth and the universe is harmonizing and resonating at a certain frequency, certain frequencies. And these shape you. So when you are born, there's a take, there's a way, there's a sense of things that is already inside of you, okay? This is the organic matrix coming alive. Okay, and so as you grow up, what happens? You're eating all your mother's food, the food that she prepares for your dad. You're breastfeeding from your mom, so you're eating everything that she's eating. If she goes to church or some type of ritual weekly, you'll probably going with her to her with that. And she is engaging you, whether she knows it or not. She is engaging you and introducing you to her world and dad's world. But mama is the nurturer. She's the one right there that's connected to you because you've been growing inside of her. Okay, and so she is forming you out of her love, and she wants you to have this beautiful, lovely, wonderful experience in the world. And so she's going to do everything in her power to make that possible for you. Now, here's the critical thing. That is very, very good and wonderful, but it's also very binding, because you get used to her foods. You get used to where she's going. You get used to her religion and her science and how she takes. That's fine, but that's what begins to happen in these patterns. And what begins to happen is in this forest that is your mind and that you are a part of, which is nature, begins to form pathways. How she thinks, how she responds to the world. What is she like with her friends? Does she tend to be very light and easy, or is she more heavy and a thinker? Is she really bouncy and jovial, or is she kind of more introverted? And these set up, and this is not criticizing, this is just the facts of life and growing. She has set up, without you even realizing it, pathways of thought in your brain. Now, your brain is composed of a whole compaction of neurons, and they all are talking to each other through their tendrils. Now follow this. As you think, when someone says, "What is God?" your mom will have likely talked to you about God as you grew up. And so your ideas of God will be mom's idea of God and dad's idea of God. And they're going to answer questions, which is normal, healthy, fine, no criticizing here. This is just what happens. And a pathway of thought begins to form about what God is in your head. And so you form life off of that. So just like the neurons are fighting about this idea of what God is, out shooting from that pathway are other ideas that form other pathways in this forest. So whenever you're going to go get something to eat, you're typically going to follow the same kind of food pathways your mom followed, because the foods that you like and are interested in are the ones that most likely she and your dad were interested in. Okay, this is normal. And so the religious sense, the motivations of life, maybe your father's a carpenter, maybe your father's a mechanic. And so he'll show you some of his gifts and talents and so forth as you're growing up. And this also will send all kinds of thought pathways of understanding the world. Okay, this should make total sense to you. Now, this all combines with the electromagnetics, which is nature. And out you pop, there you come. 9 months later, here you are. And you have all of these thought pathways that are set up from age 0 to 5. Okay, by the time you hit your hormones around age 12, all of those pathways are solidified. You've been gardening and you've been shaping them and you've been honing those pathways and you are set. And then what happens is, like I said when I started this, there comes a day when you have to start thinking differently. You have to start thinking in ways that are different than your parents if you're ever going to have your own thought. If you're ever going to be your own being, your own character, your own personality, and not just a bot from your parents. Okay, and I'm not putting down parents. I'm just saying they've done their job. Their job is to raise you in as an ethical way as possible, keep you healthy, fed, keep you around, hopefully surrounded by people that are good influences. That's their job. Okay, but your job is one day, you're going to have to leave that path if you're going to grow up. And if you never leave that path, you're just going to be a mimic. You're never going to be your own individual self. This is where mushrooms come in. This is to answer the question after all this time. Mushrooms come in and they ignite all of the neurology, the neurotransmitters in your brain. Because psilocybin dephosphorylates into psilocin, which is a molecule. And psilocin mimics serotonin, a neurotransmitter. And so when you flood the brain with psilocin that passes the blood-brain barrier, it causes all these neurons in the forest, remember I mentioned that? All of the forest lights up with activity. And here you are strolling down your path. Hey, dude, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, the lights come on. It's called the mushroom experience. And you look around and it's like, holy smokes, there are so many more pathways than I thought. There's so many other ways to get to food, to get to God, to get to religion, to get to government, to get to understanding, to health. And mushrooms come in and without any apology and without any regret, hit the floodlights. And all of a sudden, this forest that you thought you had figured out, that you thought you know all the right paths and you got it worked out, all of a sudden, everything you know becomes irrelevant. Every pathway you've been on your entire life becomes like, why would I ever do that? You rethink it. And this is the critical thing right now in this world. Everyone has been brainwashed. So take that idea I just gave you and expand it out to the community, to the world. And everyone has been brainwashed with ideas by a very small group of people who think of themselves as our shepherds, but not in a nice way. In other words, we're cattle and they're just making sure we stay cattle. And we don't ever grow. We don't ever get new ideas. We don't ever think for ourselves. It's like having parents that never let you go, that don't want to let you go. And so when you want to think independently and you have your own ideas and you approach your parents, if you got parents that don't want to let you go, they'll be like, no, you can't think like that. That's not the right way to think about God. That's not the right way to think about religion. That's not the right religion. You're wrong. You see what happens then? You don't grow. So in order to grow, follow. You have to think differently. But it's not a choice. I can't sit down, just like I can't sit down one day and say, I'm not going to love my wife anymore. I'm not going to love Jessica anymore. I'm not going to love Noah anymore. It's not a choice. I'm not going to like the color blue anymore. I'm not going to like that food anymore. It's not a choice. And it's the same thing when it comes to transcendence. Transcending the old world, the little you, the childish you, transcending that into adulthood. It doesn't just happen. That's why I talked about initiation rites last week and that we don't have them anymore. And so a child who's becoming an adult doesn't know when they have to start thinking for themselves because the world is so toxic now. Parents really feel the need to guard and coddle their kids. No criticism on parents. I'm just saying that's the tendency now. Excuse me. Back when I was growing up in the 70s, I'll give you an example here. I rode my bike like every day. I wasn't allowed to watch TV growing up. And every single day I went out and rode my bike. Never wore a helmet. Never once. Never wore elbow pads. Never wore knee pads. Nothing. Made jumps. Crashed. Trashed myself. All the stuff that kids did in the 70s growing up. In fact, the parents didn't even want you in the house. They're just like, get the heck out of the house and go outside and have a good time. Okay, the world is different now. Okay, and so initiations, pain, getting out in the world and having stuff happen to you, just the whole idea of growing up in the world is fading. And people are growing up in front of machines. People are growing up with video games. People aren't growing up in nature. They're growing up in technology. You see, and so these initiation rites that used to be the case where you grow up and you just naturally want to do your own thing. I remember when I was like 18, 19, I couldn't wait to get out of the house. Maybe a lot of you were like that. But now that the world is so different and becomes so toxic, parents really have the tendency to really hold their children very tightly. And without their realizing it, by not letting them go and be free, they become a bot or they don't know how to transition. And so this is what mushrooms do. They facilitate an initiation rite. Your birthright, that's what Terence McKenna used to call them, was your birthright. And it's sort of like, as Terence used to say, it's like going all the way to adulthood and never have had sex or have never had a decent job that you loved. There's a part of you that's missing. There's a human experience. There's a human element that's missing. Or maybe you never played an instrument, or you never painted, or you just didn't do something that had you done it, it would have shown you more. And this is what mushrooms want to do. It's what they facilitate. They show you more. They show you a bigger world than the one you grew up in. And that's why most people, when they take a heroic dose, say 4 or 5 dry grams of mushrooms, that's why they're never the same when they come out the other side. It changes you fundamentally. You see, and that's an initiation rite, because you're not going to be the person that stepped onto the train. The one that steps off is going to be a totally different person. You see, and so that's why you approach them with sincerity, if that makes sense. Okay, and then, did I have any other questions that I had to answer? Okay, let's just get started on the lecture. Is everyone happy? I'm going to look at the comments here real quick. Is everyone happy? Everyone good? You can hear me and we're all good? No glitches or anything? Hi, Gretchen. Thank you. I appreciate that. Elliot James, what is that? I don't know. I'm going to leave that alone. Okay. All good. Okay, we're good. Okay, so let's get to the lecture here. So have you guys, let's see. Okay. Here. Do you guys remember this map? I'm sure you guys remember this map. Now, are you guys, I want to offer you guys some hope here. Are you guys aware of what is happening right now in the Levant? Are you guys aware of the general synopsis of what's happening there? And this is, I'm not going to get political. This isn't a political argument. I'm just saying, are you seeing that? Okay. I checked something out in regards to what is happening over there. And look at this. It relates to our map here. Now look here. There you see in 1800 BC, Isaac, Esau, Jacob, deception, Edom founded. Okay, now in my opinion, that event is the beginning, was the beginning of the schism in the Levant. If you can follow, around 1800 BC is when these this deception happened with Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. This whole deceptive plan happened, and there was a split. Remember, and you have these two nations that split off of Abraham's seed, that split, and they hate each other. And to this day, we're still there. The Levant has not changed. Okay. Now, what I did was, we're going to actually do some math. Here we go. You ready? Okay. So I went into Grok and I said, okay, hey, Grok. And there, okay, there's the link top left. If you guys want to go and see the actual question I asked Grok, I mean, that's it right there. But to show you that I'm not faking and I'm not lying, I asked Grok, when was the birth of Esau, according to his best estimate, or its best estimate? And it said 1836. Okay. That Esau, okay, the schism started. So my point I'm trying to make here, the schism started, according to a bland answer from Grok, in 1836. You guys don't believe this. I just happened upon this morning. Okay. So the birth of Esau, according to Grok's best estimate, with no setup or anything, total plain. You got, like I said, go to the link. You'll see I'm no funny business here. 1836. Okay, well, look what 1836 reduces down to. Check out the math. 1 plus 8 is 9. 3 and 6. 9 plus 3 plus 6 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. What did Tesla say was the highest number of all numbers? 9. Okay, you watch. You guys, you are not in happenstance. So then I added, okay, so let's just add it up. So I took 1836 and I added that to 2025. And look what I got. Look. 9. Peace out, doomers. And there it is. Do you see that? I hope you guys are excited about that as I am. This shows, okay, to me, in my opinion, this is a sign. This is a sign. The schism is ending. Think about it. What has been the center conflict of our society all the way back? Goes back to Levant. Everything comes out of the Levant. Everything. All Western religions come out of the Levant. The Silk Trade roads, all that happened with the Khazarians and them developing, all comes out of Levant. And so the point I'm trying to make here and what I'm trying to show you is you are not in a happenstance situation. There's real sacredness and sacred geometry. And speaking of which, I wanted you guys to see this. Have you guys seen this gentleman? This guy, his cat's name is Phoenix, I think. His name is Oliver, I'm not sure. But anyway, this guy, he had a job a year ago. It has the post on X, and he hated his job. He sold everything. And bought a boat. No sailing experience. And he's sailing across the Pacific to Hawaii. Are you guys following this guy? So what I did was I said, okay, well, I'm going to pull some cards to help explain this. So, folks, that is the hero's journey. That is the hero's journey. Look what this guy did. Look at the fool. The fool is the one that just jumps out into life, right? Walks right off the cliff, but the cliff isn't to death. It is to opportunity. That's to where the fool is stepping. And look at this gentleman. He is just stepping right out into the abyss. And so, yeah, death is right there. Right there. He could die. What if he slips and falls and the boat sails off? Right? What if a freak accidents happen? What if he gets nailed by a storm? Puts a hole in his boat, he's dead. This should show you the hero's journey is no joke, folks. There's no guarantee this guy's going to live. Do you realize that? Have you seen his situation? And look, it's the Eight of Cups, walking away from everything. And of course, the Wheel of Fortune right there. And then victory, the Six of Wands. That's what the wreath is, victory. He has conquered his old life to start a new one. And I simply show that to show you the hero's journey is not a joke. It's a serious thing. It's not a light thing. Like my hero's journey began when the doctor said, you have cancer, and if you don't follow my protocol, you're going to be dead in 8 months. I don't care what you do. You're going to be dead if you don't follow my protocol. And it wasn't just him telling me that. It was multiple doctors. And I had to make a conscientious choice to ignore that advice. What is this guy doing? He's making a conscientious choice to jump right into the abyss. Do you see that? And see this follow. This merits him. This shows to nature. This shows to the greater energy. This shows I am ready to step in. I will step in. I will give myself completely with no guarantee of coming out the other side. That's how it happens. This guy, should he live, I hope he does. This guy, by the end of that journey, by the time he reaches wherever he's going, he'll be transformed. In fact, he'll never, remember I said getting off of the train, you're a different person? He'll never be able to go back to his old life. And he would never want to. He would never even think to. This is how it's done. That is the hero's journey. That is to the space I'm pointing to. And that's why we are studying the tarot, because it helps us understand our true power so that we have the courage, we have the drive to go and merit a bigger reality, a larger reality than the safe, secured life affords you. Because how much are you going to really know living a life that's safe and secure? Do you see the wisdom and logic in this now? And you can see now what is happening. What have I been saying to you guys about world events that have been happening all the way up until basically this morning when I woke up? It really could go either way. And this morning when I woke up and I saw that there are peace talks, or there might be peace with Iran, I was like, okay, well, that changes everything. That is the big step. That's walking into the abyss, isn't it? Think about it. Is that not walk? And look at the people's reaction. The people who want things to stay the same, the people that don't want change, look at them. They don't want peace negotiations. They want to continue in the war. And see, that goes into the culling I've been talking about, because there are people who are not ready for the Great Awakening. And so when they're talking peace, they fight it. It's like telling the Christian you're not a sinner, and they'll fight you to stay a sinner. And you have people who are completely obsessed with Israel. And so when there's discussion about it no longer being the prevailing power, they fight it. Brainwashing. Do you know what the cure is for that? I hope some of you said it. 5 dried grams of mushrooms. That cure that problem. That cure that problem overnight. It's like ibogaine for the addict. Overnight. 24, 48 hours, all addiction gone. Gone. No side effects. Gone. All your addiction. It reformats the hard drive. You see? And so this is what's happening right now in the world. Can't you see it? The entire world is having a mushroom experience, because right now, for the first time ever, there's about to be peace in a place that hasn't been peaceful for over 3,000 years. You know what I'm saying? It's an exciting time. So have hope. Have hope. The less doomers we are, the more we are evoking the positive energy, the more we are evoking change and embracing that. And this is something that we run towards. We embrace liberation, but liberation isn't easy. And that's part of the lesson of the cards. So as we continue now, thank you for hearing me out. If some of you want to calculate the stuff I've been calculating, I went ahead and calculated Dad's there on the right in case some of you were interested in my father's. But notice that we both, my father and me, have the star for our transcendence. And so obviously my father transcended the hermit, I've transcended the strength. And so you become that transcendent card. And if you want to know what your card is, here's the calculations. And this can show you how to do it. That's how I did it. Here again, and then to calculate energy cards, here's very simple math, folks. Very simple math. And what I'm going to be doing next week, what I'm going to be doing next week is last night, last night for the first time since, I think it was 2018, 2017, I actually pulled a Celtic cross last night on tarot. It was unbelievable. I have a picture of it, and I'm going to be using it next week when we do show and tell. And I'm going to be showing you the Celtic cross that I pulled last night, and I'm going to explain. It is mind-boggling how much it basically said when I went into the drawing. I'll tell you what I do when I do it. But when I went into the drawing, my major question was, I just want a picture of my life. I just want an idea of sort of where I came from, where the energy is pointing towards, and just a general synopsis. I don't necessarily want to know the future. I don't necessarily want to know the past. I just want a general picture of what my electromagnetics are conveying. And when I show you guys next week what the cards came up as, you won't believe it. It's literally like someone was writing a diary of my life for the last 15 years, and they said, here you go. Normally, when I do these pulls, I have to pull some additional cards to make sense because sometimes the card isn't clear. Every single card I pulled was like bing, bing, bing. Every single one, even the reversed ones, were perfectly placed for the reversed. You guys won't believe it. I'll show you next week. I'll show you next week. But this is how you get these calculations. As you can see, that's my father on the right. Look at the difference between my father, his energy card, and mine, where I've got the 8 of Cups, whereas he has the 8 of Wands. Totally different meanings. And his life really has been a mimic of that, which is blossomed opportunities. And my father is very much an introvert. People don't know that about him, but he's very much an introvert. And so he's very much a hermit. He's a studier. My father would sit in his office. I remember when when we had Easter vacation, this was 1984 about. And in that week span of time, my father sat in the office. I remember because I was on vacation, I was going out riding my bike and playing with friends. And every time I walked by this office that my folks had made, he was in there studying, and he wrote the entire book. I think it was for those, it was Hand Me Another Brick. And he wrote the entire book in 1 week. My dad hand writes his book. He's left-handed. He hand writes his books. All the books that you see, that he's released, handwritten. Every single page. He would write on legal documents. You talk about a hermit. He would write on legal documents, yellow legal documents. I remember seeing them, and they would get all crinkly because he would write so hard that it would form a writing knot on his middle finger of his left hand that would literally be like that high. Like you would look at his writing knot, and it would be like that high off of his, sorry, I don't mean to be giving you a middle finger, but off of his finger. Thick. And he was writing 2 books a year, bro. And that, I mean, the picture of the hermit. I mean, my father sat in his office and studied and studied and studied and studied and wrote. And I would ask him at times, I would say, do you have the whole book in your head? And he would say, yes. I said, do you have the chapters in your head? And he would say, yes. Which is incredible because I've written a book. And I didn't have the chapters in my head. I didn't have any outline, nothing. I just started writing. And so this whole idea that he had everything already finished in his head, and he's given it to his secretary, word perfect. Like when I wrote, like I had to go back and change things, adjust. Not my dad, man. Freaking A, man. My dad wrote that stuff out. Good to go as is. Just incredible. So anyway, the cards are amazing. So what we are going to be doing today. Okay, so let's get started here. This lecture delves into the timeless question of humanity's purpose and considers why we exist and how we should live. Greek mythology to scientific materialism has failed to provide satisfactory answers to who we are, and the modern society's obsession with matter and economic growth neglects the deeper values of human life. And don't you see that? Don't you see that? How I was mentioning earlier, how we've all been grown up on technology, but we're nature creatures. We're meant to grow up in the forest. My wife grew up in the forest. We're meant to grow up in the forest, out in it. And so this has changed the world. It has changed the minds of people because we've been surrounded by technology over nature, and we really need to return to the values and principles of nature. And that's why we're studying the tarot, because it translates nature to the human mind. Okay, insight. The disciplined use of observation and reflection is essential for individuals to discern their purpose and align with universal laws, meaning the heart is the principal guide in this world. Have you ever thought about that? Heart is the guide. This is why it's so important, and you guys have heard me say this so many times. This is why it's so important to see yourself not as inherently fallen, as inherently bad, but as inherently good. That's why you have to see the heart not as James, I can't remember is it 3:9, but not as James says, where James says it's wicked and fallen and nothing can make sense of it. Remember that in James where it says that? Okay, that's the wrong idea about the heart. It is not wicked. It is not fallen. Okay, and so this is why it is so important, because when you approach life from a position of seeing yourself as fully perfect the way that you are and simply learning nature and the world, you see that's an entirely different way of approaching the world than thinking you have to be fixed, than thinking something is inherently wrong with you, that you're missing something, that there's a spiritual inclination that you can't access without following the rules. You see, in a person who sees themselves as inherently fallen, you see, will seek the rules, will seek obedience. And the person who is obedient doesn't realize that they're part of the problem, because they're just obeying the world of the authorities. And we didn't come here to obey. And you guys know that. I don't have to go through the rigmarole. But that's not why we came here. We came here to grow and expand. Okay, so the tarot helps in that. Finally, personal responsibility, moderation, and the pursuit of growth supported by a faith in immortality are pathways to meaningful life. Now, isn't that an interesting statement? Pursuit of growth supported by a faith in immortality. Do you see then why it's so important to see yourself as an eternal creature? Do you realize how much your self-value will increase when you realize more and more the infinity that you are? Meaning your value, your self-worth goes on forever, because you are an eternal creature. You matter. You see? And if you see the world is fallen and yourself is fallen, it's not you that matters. It's yourself after you die that matters. See, and so the world becomes a purgatory rather than a paradise, because it's something you endure and survive, not something that you explore and realize. Does that make sense? That needs to make sense to you, because that's going to drive you and give yourself merit to start thinking that way. And as you guys know, we become what we believe. You become what you think you are. That's why if you think you're attractive, you will behave like you're attractive. If you think you're ugly, you're going to behave like you think you're ugly. You become what you believe. So if you think your heart is fallen, you're going to behave like a person whose heart is fallen, who thinks that it has. And so you will be prone to sin. You will be prone to leave the God you love, because you've been programmed to think that way. But that's not you. You're inherently good, you see. And the tarot helps you recognize that, because it shows you, it renders to you your complexity. The 4 suits of the minor arcana are represented by distinct objects that carry profound symbolic weight. And obviously, we started knowing this last week: swords, cups, wands, and pentacles. These items are more than mere tools or icons. They are archetypes that embody the elemental forces of air, water, fire, and earth, respectively, and so effectuate essential aspects of human experience while promulgating spiritual evolution. You see, they tie you in to the essence that you are, which is unspeakable. So symbols are used. So the mind, what does the mind do? It cuts through thoughts. It discerns. It sees through the picture. It cuts through the picture in front of your eyes. You see, and what's the imagination? Fire. That's your creativity. The greatest power in the universe is your creativity. It builds empires. It builds skyscrapers. It builds houses. See, it builds health. And notice, folks, under imagination, fire, look how the light at the end of the wand casts no shadow. You see what that's saying? The subconscious, the intellect, the entelechy, casts no shadow. It shines of itself. That's why when you dream, there's no need for light. The beings in your dream, the dream itself, shines of itself. It casts no shadow. So it is not something that you know through words. It's something you know through the mind. It doesn't cast a shadow. So there's no matter there. That's the point. And this is why the wands here are fire. Fire casts no shadow. And notice that there's no shadow being cast. And then bottom left, beautiful symbol of the earth that was pornographied by the psychos. But that's actually a beautiful picture of the earth and the 5 elements, as we've talked about, and then the circle uniting them all because they are all one. And then obviously the cup, which is the holder of emotions, and the your friendships and relationships, and the love in your life. And can love be put into words? Can matter, nature be put into words? Can fire, no shadow, be put into words? Can the mind be put into words? You see, folks, you see? The tarot shows you things that can't be put into words. And when you see it with your third eye chakra, you see it awakens you. Because once you can release from the idea of a world based on words, and you can ground yourself in the idea of a world based on experience, well, you have 2 different lives at that point. Because the world of words is going to bind you down. The world of experience is going to open you, and you'll launch because it's not contained. You follow? Okay. Imagination, or magic, quote unquote, is a transformative power enabling internal growth that results in external change. You see how it works? We change inside, and then our behavior changes. Again, what you think of yourself becomes your behavior. In the major arcana, a magical journey of the soul facilitates the spirit's sojourn into matter and uniting it with the enemas, the rational mind, the divine counterpart. Did you catch that? The rational mind, the divine counterpart. What is the divine counterpart? The mind, the creativity. It's the counterpart. It's the expression of nature, your body, coming out. My imagination allows me to create paintings, allows me to create that which has never been seen before. For example, what I started the lecture with, the math that I showed you. I'm sure a lot of you had never seen that math before. That's power. I transferred this idea, creativity, into power, empowering you in realizing, hey, you know what? There may be a bigger picture like Chuck is pointing out here. That's empowerment. That is where I take the fire within me and I light the fire within you. And then you in your world, in your life, by having this torch available to you that wasn't, you can now see more clearly. And the landscape that was depressing you can now become a landscape that inspires you. You see? And that's my role. That's my role, is to help you see these deeper principles. Okay. This is symbolized by the figures and settings of each card. A pursuit of union represents psychic wholeness, which is the true meaning of fulfillment achieved through living virtues like patience and faith. Materialism undermines the uniting principle, yet unity remains resilient in humanity's preference for hopeful yet responsible. That's key. Hopeful but responsible narratives to guide their lives over temporary pleasures. And that's the thing. responsibility, self-responsibility. And how do I develop that? Through appreciation, appreciating myself and appreciating the world around me. And my self-responsibility simply comes out, because self-responsibility is coming from the heart motivations, and the heart doesn't listen to words. It doesn't work like that. So you can't tell yourself to be more responsible. This is something that comes out of you through realizing the importance that you are and the world that you're in. And appropriate behavior is the response. You see how it works? That's why you're putting the cart before the horse when you try to obey to realize self-responsibility. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to realize self-responsibility by constantly obeying. You're going to become a bot, a robot. True self-responsibility is merited. It's merited through the heart, and then the heart, through its realization of the world that you're in, of course, you're going to treat it with incredible respect because you appreciate it. And that's why seeing yourself as an infinite creature is so important, because your appreciation just builds and builds and builds, because you're going to be here forever. Not in this body, but your soul will be. And so that's something to revere. That is something to foster. That is something to grow with. You see, the divine counterpart. Your mind makes that possible. Okay, the tarot remains a relevant, vital force for improvement by offering a psychotherapeutic escape into imagination, leveraging inner knowingness amidst a disillusioned world. The cards act as psychological documents. They use symbols and colors representing nature's polarities. Isn't that beautiful? In collective dreams, which educate and inspire. And what better way to learn than through dream? Honestly, it's like, what better way to learn art than going to the museum and seeing what the artist was dreaming? There it is. The fire of knowledge, the liberation of wisdom, folks. Seriously, this stuff matters. A mind, here, look at this quote from Manly Hall. A mind to instinct conflict weakens the emotional life. And I'm going to give you an example of this. The mind to instinct conflict weakens the emotional life. Now, some of you may know this or may not, but I am a massive Formula One fan. Massive. I've been a Formula One fan since I was 16. I was introduced it by a former racer way back in high school, and he got me addicted to it. And I am like a freak out fan. Like, I really, really love Formula One. And so one of the things that's happened after watching the sport for decades is you begin to understand what exactly makes a great driver and what makes a mediocre driver. It becomes very, very easy to see. It's the same thing with the NFL. Okay. And so you begin to understand what is it and what makes a racer, one of the greats rather than just really good, is the racer that has that natural feel that comes before the mind can enter the space, meaning they can sit in the car and they can find the limit of just before the car is going to fly off the road. They can feel that just in that moment in the car, one with it. Because if I'm driving by my my taught instruction, I'm thinking of what to do when I'm supposed to do it rather than doing it when I'm supposed to do it. The thought interferes with the instinct. And it's the great driver that drives on instinct that leaves all the tech behind and just goes natural. It's like the musician that trains themselves on the guitar or the drums or whatever. They're going to have a naturalness to them that is unavailable to the person who is constantly trying to obey the instructor. And if you're a race car driver and as you're driving, you're thinking, okay, now what did the instructor say to do here? Now what did the instructor say to do here? Now what do I do here? You see, you're thinking. It has to come through instinct. You see, and this is how the tarot teaches. It teaches you instinctively, your subconscious. And through the pictures that you relate to, it teaches you responsibility through awakening. Do you see? And so that's why it's such a valuable tool or instrument to you. Because the only way you're going to wake up in this great awakening is instinctually through the heart, the gut, mind. That's what's going to lead you into the great awakening. You're not going to walk into the great awakening obeying Dr. Fauci. That's not going to lead you to the great awakening. It's not going to lead you to the great awakening. Follow some illustrious person that's powerful politically. That's not going to lead you to awakening. It's your own unique journey that you take on through stuff like what Oliver and Phoenix are doing. That's how you awaken. You throw yourself to life. You walk right off the cliff. How else are you going to know life unless you're willing to risk death? Do you see? And this brings a weight and gravity to life, which will build your respect for life, because it's not just a flimsy thing of materialism and having a good time and spreading your seed and getting a bunch of money and dying and quote unquote happy. That's an empty life. And so getting on this level, you see why, just like I found out about why I had cancer, you see why life is so important, why it is a paradise. And this comes from inside you. It can't come from somewhere else. It comes from inside. Okay. Let's look at wands. Physical description. The wand in tarot imagery is a staff, rod, or branch, often rough-hewn from wood and sprouting leaves or buds. It may be plain or polished, sometimes adorned with flames or carved with symbols of vitality. In cards like the Ace of Wands, there on the bottom left or in center, it radiates energy, surrounded by sparks or a fiery glow, evoking life and dynamism. Now look at that card it just described. It's coming out of a cloud. Where does imagination, your fire, come from? It comes from the subconscious. It comes from the deep, the clouds, the abyss. And what is coming out of that cloud? Purity, pure thought, the totally authentic moment. There it is. And that's your dream. Your dream is authentically you. It's the authentic moment when you see these things, because it couldn't have been planned. It is there because of the opportunity you have afforded yourself. And so the Ace of Wands is saying, here is your great opportunity, friend. And there it is. And you can see all the gray. The gray is balance. If we have time, we're going to get to colors today. The gray is balance, neutrality. It's just presenting the opportunity to you. Remember when I said the nature is a forest, and that torch being handed over is just like someone on the side of the path you're on and just saying, here's a different road you can go down, brother. Check it out. See what you find. Don't be afraid. I know it says keep out. I know it says danger. I know it says stay away. I know it says the authorities are going to come and get you. Don't be afraid. Walk past the danger. Walk past the threats. Just like Phoenix and Oliver are doing. Just like I did when I had cancer. Is there any other way to live but throwing yourself into life? Is there any other way to live? How am I going to reach the most profound understandings if I'm timid? If I'm a hypocrite? If I bind myself in to one way of thinking? These are the big questions to ask yourself as we go into the Great Awakening. The spark of creation. The wand as a symbol of the creative force, the spark that ignites action, inspiration, and transformation. Like a magician's wand, it channels energy, turning thought into reality. Isn't that beautiful? Its wooden nature ties it to the living world, with sprouting leaves symbolizing growth, potential, opportunity, and the intellect, the vital principle that flows, guides, and self-organizes all things. And here we see the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands. Look at what they are sitting on. A solid structure. You see, it is from a very deep understanding of the situation. And notice how the wand for the king is touching nature, and for the queen, it's on her foundation. And she's wearing all mind. That's the yellow. Yellow is mind. Yellow is intellect. And look at the crown on her head. Intellect. So she's a smart one, that one. And she is filled with invention, development. And look at the robe she's wearing is surrounded in purity, whiteness, the white color. You see? And then you see the sunflowers, all representing nature. And then the king on the right there's see the salamander there behind his head. That's the completion of the Ouroboros. This is an individual who has realized their dreams. And he is looking outward into the future. And look at the sky is blue. And notice his shoes are blue. This is the subconscious. You see, his robe is red, noting action and energy. Okay, moving on to the next card. Fire's vitality. As the item of fire element, the wand embodies passion, energy, and the will to act. It is like a torch or bonfire, illuminating the path forward and consuming obstacles in its heat. Fire's dual nature, creative and destructive, is central to the wand's symbolism. That's really key to notice there, creative and destructive. If you follow a bad idea, can it destroy your life? Absolutely. What did I say earlier? There's no guarantees in life. There's no guarantee. That great guy that's on that sailboat right now in the middle of the Pacific, there's no guarantees he's going to be alive. He's going to make it. That's life. You come into accord with that. You don't run from it. You don't attack it. You come into accord with it. You walk with it. Just like I walked with death the entire time I had cancer, that guy, he is sailing death. Literally. The abyss is right under him at any moment. Ready to swallow him. Ready. More than willing. And you know what? Nature will not care a blip. You see? Nature is opportunity. There's no guarantee. And if you try to form it into a guarantee, you lessen it. The whole joy is the risk itself. That's the joy of racing a car. Finding that edge on the corner to when you're going 200 miles an hour, you are literally 2 or 3 miles an hour from losing the back end and crashing. Is there any other way to live? You know, think about that. Is there any other way to live? And this is what nature wants. This is what it's called novelty. And this is what nature fosters, is novelty. What are you? You're a living novelty. What are your ideas? Living novelties that you create. Novelty is everywhere. And it is through novelty that transcendence happens. That's why Terence McKenna used to talk about novelty all the time. Okay. Dual nature, creative and destructive, is central to the wand symbolism. It can forge new beginnings or burn out of control, as seen in the Western tension between cards like the 3 of Wands, expansion, and the 10 of Wands, burden. And look, right there in front of you, expansion, the dude on the left. Notice he has a black, I don't know what that is, some type of wrap or something on the robe. That's the unknown. He's staring out, and he knows, as a part of the risk of his dreams and what he's contemplating of how he wants to develop his life, he knows that risk is involved, and he's aware of that. And then look at the dude on the right. He's burying his head in his accomplishments. This is the narcissist. This is the person who can't get past their own ideas, who can't get past their own creativity, who thinks there's something on a stick. And this is when creativity kills you, because it goes to your head. You have to hold it loosely, you see? You have to wield it for people, but not have this ego behind it, but just simply share the idea, share the talent, share the gift, share the idea, but don't attach your ego to it, because then that taints the idea. The whole concept is to take this out from yourself and give it away. It's like music. You give it away. And when other people hear it, they become more aware, because you're giving away and you're not attaching it to it any kind of ego. That's the beauty of music, is that it's something you hear. It's not something you see. It's now you see it, now you don't. And so it's a lot tougher to get addicted to it, so to speak. You see, this is liberation. This is liberation. That kind of experience of sensorial unbelievableness without becoming attached to it. And that's one of the beauties of music, is that it's not an addictive drug. The staff of authority. The wand also represents leadership and initiative, akin to a shepherd's staff or a king's scepter. It is a tool of the masculine principle, symbolizing assertiveness, drive, and the power to direct one's destiny. To wield the wand is to take command of oneself, one's goals, or others, infusing action with purpose and vision. It makes complete sense, doesn't it? Growth and manifestation, the wand's connection to wood and sprouting branches reflects the process of growth and inspiration. Isn't that beautiful? Growth begins as a seed, an opportunity, which through effort and intention blossoms into tangible results. This organic quality makes the wand a symbol of potential. You see, your creativity is potential, the raw material of ambition, waiting to be shaped by the seeker's will, by your art. Look at this picture here on the top left. Now, what is happening here? All these individuals are fighting over their own ideas. See, this is where inspiration and creativity can also be a destructive force. And look, they're all filled with ego. Look how they're dressed. They're dressed in single colors. So that's their thing, and they're fighting for their thing. You see, and this is where creativity destroys. And so it's something that you learn to wield. You see, it's a gift, but it's not always good. It can be used for evil. Think of the destruction that the Khazarian mafia have brought about to the people just through their egregores, giving people certain ideas about themselves. And so they wear a certain outfit, they wear a certain costume, a certain way of seeing the world. And then they go and fight others who have a different idea than them. And they destroy each other. And that is the picture of what has happened to us here in the world, because we're unaware. Look, top left, there's the picture of the world. Everybody's got their own singular idea, and then they're all fighting over who's the best idea, who's the best one, who's going to win. You see, it's dead end. Dead end. It's a good warning. Philosophical insight. The wand is the emblem of human agency, the ability to create, destroy, and transform through the fire of the spirit. It teaches courage, urging the user to act boldly on their passions, but also discipline, as unchecked fire can lead to ruin, can it not? The wand's lesson is one of alignment, to harness its energy in service of a higher purpose, ensuring that inspiration fuels progress rather than chaos or ego, for that matter. The wand often appears in dynamic scenes held by figures in motion or rising from fertile ground. Its fiery glow or sprouting leaves evoke vitality and renewal, while its upright stance signifies readiness and resolve. The wand is a call to awaken the inner spark, that's you folks, to embrace the transformative power of action and creativity. Brilliant. And then here's a description of that card so that you guys can apply this now to directly to your life. The Two of Wands depicts a man standing on a castle wall holding a globe in one hand and a wand in the other, with another wand fixed beside him. See that? Okay. He gazes out over a landscape of mountains, a river, and a village, suggesting planning and contemplation. The wand represents creative freedom and action. The number 2 signifies, that's the 2 card, second card, balance and choice. And the globe symbolizes global vision, with the castle offering security and the landscape future opportunities. See how every single symbol in these things matters. This is a card of vision and strategic planning, noting the moment when one has achieved success and considers how to expand, aligning actions with higher purpose. I actually pulled this card in my Celtic Cross. I pulled this last night, and you guys will not believe where that thing showed up. The card emphasizes foresight, encouraging big thinking and stepping outside of comfort zones, warning against complacency, while conjuring decisions that lead to growth and fulfillment. The card harkens to align personal will with long-term goals while reflecting focus on purposeful action and spiritual balance. And it's really easy to see it when you begin to get familiar with the cards. You see, so he's holding his ideas, he's contemplating them, and he's looking at the earth there. Now, how does my idea fit into the world? How can I best fit this concept for the betterment of society, for the betterment of others? And look, he's covered in fire, red, dark red and brown earth tones, right? He's all in, grounded right in the now, ready to act. And then he's standing on what he has built. This is the empire that he's built for himself. And then out there, the landscape, which is opportunity. You see, and it's just be aware. This is your moment. This is a moment for you to be making large decisions. Be careful how you make them. The Two of Wands suggests taking time to plan and set intentions for the future, exploring new paths aligned with passions and values. It inspires proactive risk-taking and trusting one's ability to shape destiny, such as setting long-term goals or pursuing new ventures. For personal application, one might create a vision board, assessing career options, or take calculated risk, enhancing confidence and purpose in life's and journey. And then finally, the Hermetic lessons from this. Hermetically, the card reflects mentalism as the mind creates reality through vision and intention, with the globe symbolizing the microcosm and the macrocosm. It also embodies correspondence, linking personal actions to global impact, showing how individual choices ripple outward. Additionally, polarity is evident, balancing security, castle, and adventure landscape, teaching the integration of opposites for growth. So mentalism, correspondence, and polarity are the Hermetic principles in that card. Does this make sense to y'all? Let's go to comments. Holy smokes, there's a lot of comments. Okay. Yeah, the Two of Wands is a gateway. You're correct, little things. He is saying it looks fun. Oh, come on, stop it. Images are language that's so kind of let it grow greatly. Yes, exactly. Absolutely love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, makes sense, and I'm loving it. Thank you, Katie. Thank you so much. May Bones, thank you. I'm so glad you guys are getting it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Let's go back to media assets. Let's keep on rolling. Okay, we're now going into Pentacles. Here we go. One of my favorite, I think it might be my favorite emblem. Okay, physical description. The pentacle in tarot imagery is a flat circular disc or coin, often inscribed with a 5-pointed star, the pentagram. It may be plain or decorated with symbols of wealth, such as wheat, vines, or jewels. In cards like the Ace of Pentacles, it is framed by a lush garden and held aloft, radiating a golden light of materializing prosperity. Isn't that brilliant? And then there's the Ace of Pentacles, very similar scene as the Ace of Wands for obvious reasons. Look how nature is the foundation, obviously, for the Pentacles. And then we see with these two figures here, the King and Queen, adorned in the sensual world. There's nothing wrong with that. You just need to be careful of addiction. You need to be careful of the sensual pleasures and not becoming consumed by them. Really interesting. Let's keep moving here. The pentacle is a symbol of the material world, wealth, resources, and the physical body. Its circular shape reflects completeness and the cycles of nature, while the pentagram within it represents both the human form, Da Vinci, remember the Da Vinci picture, arms and legs, and the 5 elements of nature, air, fire, earth, water, ether. These ground spiritual energy into a tangible realm. Do you see this? Remember when I said a couple of weeks ago that God infuses everything? What is that saying right there? Right there. These ground spiritual energy into a tangible realm. And so what are you? You are a tangible form of God. Can you get that? You are a manifestation, a tangible form of a characteristic, an aspect, an emanation of God. How could you be anything less? Seriously. Think of how rare life is in the universe. Like what it takes to have the life we have right now on this planet. Think of the atmosphere required, the pressures required, the location to and from the sun that's required, the stability, the universe around us, stability, in order for us not to be blasted by rocks or meteors or something all the time so that life could never develop. Think of the miracle of your situation. You're literally spinning around an orb, careening through space. Think if that's the picture. That's the picture. And so it's rare, it's beautiful, and it's a manifestation. That's why it's so perfect. That's why it's filled with sacred geometry. It's because it's a manifestation of that which forms sacred geometry. If you can get on this level with yourself and how you see yourself, you will destroy depression. You will walk right by it because you will realize what you really are And that just leaves you in a state of awe, not depressed. You're depressed because you've been believing the lies that have been told about you, saying that you're fallen from God, that you're a sinner, that you need grace and being saved, or you're doomed. That's depressing. That's depressing. That's why you're told that, so that you will then make an irrational decision to give your mind away to a group. That's not rational. But you become irrational when you begin to believe the lies, you see. And so that's why this stuff is so important, because it's rendering to you the deeper truth that is inside of you that you have to see. The card isn't saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. The card is saying, look past me. Just like the painting at the Louvre. Look past the painting. That's where the artist is. They're not stuck in the painting. They're past it. And you will have to see through it, through the imagery, the symbolism that they offered you. You are the same way. When you look in the mirror, that is not you. That is not you. You are past that which is in the mirror. The mind is a mirror, and it will reflect that which you are without any words. And that's why the mind is a beautiful thing. That's why it's the sword, it's the air, it cuts through the BS. Cuts through the BS. Okay. All right, it represents material perfection. Exactly. The pentacle is both a coin of exchange and a talisman of protection, embodying the earth's sustaining power and self-organizing features. It represents material perfection, does it not? As the item of the earth element, the pentacle signifies stability, security, and the solid foundation of life. It is the soil that nourishes crops, the stone that builds shelters, the body that houses the soul. See how beautiful it is? When you can see material, and lack of a better word, materialism in this beautiful way, it's something to totally revere. It's like something to enjoy. It's not a drug. It's something to enjoy and be a part of. Its weight and permanence contrast with the fluidity of water or the volatility of fire, offering a sense of rootedness, steadfastness, and endurance. So freaking beautiful, man. I love this stuff. Wealth and work. The pentacle is a token of abundance, representing the fruits of labor and the rewards of diligence. It is a reminder that material prosperity is earned through effort, skill, and wise stewardship, depicted in scenes of craftsmanship or trade. Yet it also warns of materialism's shadow, of course, greed, hoarding, or the neglect of spiritual values, of course, urging the seeker to view wealth as a means, not an end. That's one of the reasons why, well, never mind. The feminine principle. The pentacle is a feminine power, embodying a nurturing fertility, sensuality, and the ability to manifest dreams in the physical form. Isn't that? That's it. Like the earth itself, it provides and protects, offering a space where life can flourish. The pentacle's grounding energy teaches the seeker to honor the body and the material world as sacred. There it is, folks. It's sacred. It is not fallen. It's sacred, integrating the physical and spiritual into a harmonious whole. I love this ending here. The pentacle's grounding energy teaches the seeker to honor the body and the material world as sacred. Now, what happens when you take it upon yourself to get into shape? Is that an ego thing, or is that just a personal thing where I'm tired of being overweight or out of shape? See, it's coming from within you. If the inspiration is true, and if that inspiration is true and you're not doing it for someone else or because of someone else, but for yourself, that is the energy that will carry you through 2, 3, 4, 6 months down the road when you want to quit. And what happens when you don't quit, right? You begin to revere yourself. I remember when I was 33 years old, I was sitting down on the couch and I started having back spasms while I was playing games with my kids and my wife. True story. I was sitting there on the couch, not doing anything, just playing games, and all of a sudden my entire back seized up, my legs shot out, and I dropped to the floor, and I was writhing in pain out of nowhere. You see, and that changed me to begin a workout program. It's when I began my whole process of being prepared to have cancer, because I got cancer in my 40s. So I spent all of my 30s basically in the calisthenics necessary for when I got cancer to be able to fight it and to have the determination to fight it off and kill it. And so I had this back spasm, and I was thinking, I'm 33 years old. My body should not be falling apart. I should be in the prime of life. And it awakened me. And I immediately, I think that next week, I started running almost every day, I quit drinking soda pop. I quit all of my bad eating habits, stopped eating out. You know, I made humongous life changes. And if I hadn't done that, when I got cancer, I wouldn't have beat cancer. And it was because I revered myself, loved myself enough to say, you know what? I don't want to be falling apart. I want to be there for my kids. I want to be there for my family. I want to be there for myself because I want to be healthy and live a long time. You see? And it's this reverence for the material body in that way that's transformative. It won't capture you. It will liberate you. You see? And that's what they're pointing to here in this slide. Okay. Where were we? There we go. Next slide. Philosophical insight. The pentacle represents the culmination of human endeavor, the point where spirit meets matter. It teaches practicality, patience, and the value of building something lasting, whether a home, a career, or legacy. No, wait a minute. I read that. Sorry. Imagery. The pentacle often appears in scenes of abundance, fields, gardens, or bustling markets. Its golden hue evoking wealth and measure. It may be held, offered, or buried. Can't it? Think about that. Symbolizing the interplay between possession and letting go. It is a call to root oneself in the present while cultivating a legacy for the future, honoring material as a reflection of the divine. You see? You see? Okay, I'm going to do one more slide and then we're going to go to comments. So here's we just finished. Intellect, will, matter, and emotion, the 4 elements we just finished. The next is to go to colors, but we're going to go to colors in a minute. I'm going to go to comments here in a sec. So to finish up, the sword cuts through illusion with the power of mind demanding clarity and ethical action. The cup holds the waters of emotion, offering nourishment and connection through the heart's wisdom and truth. Isn't that a beautiful picture? Nourishing the heart with emotion and fostering relationships. Boom. I mean, that's how to have a happy heart. Nourishing it with pure, authentic emotion and filling your life with positive, influential, helpful relationships. That's heart food, heart language. The wand ignites the spark of creation, urging bold action, the pursuit of passion, and transmuting dream. The pentacle grounds the seeker in the material world, teaching the sacred balance of abundance and purpose. Together, these objects form a complete system for understanding life's elemental forces, guiding the seeker towards self-mastery and enlightenment. Through such a lens, one transcends their physical form and becomes a timeless symbol of the interplay between intellect, will, matter, and emotion. Good? You get it? Okay, let's go to comments. Let's see if you guys got questions. I'm going to answer questions. Here we go. Being separated. Let's see what this says. Sketchy Eddie 888. Nice. Being separate from the world is an illusion. I remembered yesterday. Air, water, earth, plants, etc. are a direct extension of self. If any were separate, there would be none. Exactly. Thank you very much. What a deep insight. Thank you very much for that. Here, this is a good question. Why do I have very negative vibes to the start? Are you a Christian, Linda? Or do you have any kind of religious affiliations that have told you or said that the star, that the pentagram is nothing but evil? Don't you think that if I was a controlling group, the last thing I would want you to be is liberated? So I'm going to want to fill you with fear and tell you these symbols that awaken your intellect, tell you that they're evil and that they'll cause the devil to eat you and you're going to be finished and done if you play with these things. Do you see? Do you see how that's an inappropriate way of warning someone by filling them with fear? The best way to warn someone, especially your child, is filling them with knowledge. You don't sit there and yell at them trying to be a monster and filling them with fear. You're going to get down on their level, stoop to see them eye to eye and explain to them, listen, Johnny, this is the reason why you don't run into the street. This is the reason why you don't play with razor blades. And you reason with them. You talk with them. You know, it's not this beating into their heads. And it's the same thing with religion. Religion has beat into people's heads symbols that used to be liberating symbols. And they beat into people's heads, no, that's a demonic symbol. And you are to follow our ideas, our words. what we say and our instruction. They don't want you looking at symbology. They don't want you looking at things without words, because that's going to show you the real world. Because the real world is not composed of words. It is composed of love. It is past words. Do you see? Okay. Here's a quick question for you, Chuck. Okay, lay it on me, Gretchen. I'm looking. I'll look for Gretchen's question here. Thank you, Obi. My favorite dinosaur is probably a velociraptor. I think those things are awesome. Okay. Yes. Yes, Gretchen, I'll still look for your question here in a minute. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, okay, various other cards. Yes, they do have different meanings. Okay, Gretchen. So in biblical times, there were dream interpreters in the Old Testament. So interesting that the church is against the tarot. What's up with that? Because the church isn't interested in your growth. It's not interested in your expansion. And you need to understand that the way that the church is now is very different than the way that it was back then. I mean, if you think about, how can I shape this? Like, there was a time when if you were in a particular tribe, it was completely acceptable in their religious terms to go to another tribe that thinks differently than you and to kill everyone in that tribe and to take all their children and rape all the women. There was once a time, even in biblical history, where that was an accepted practice. Right now, if you do that now, that's not an acceptable practice. And so the religion has shifted. Its moral values have changed. You see, and so the behaviors that you see them doing back then are not necessarily the same behaviors that you see them doing now. And in fact, a lot of the murder and stuff has gone underground. I mean, we know what the Catholic Church is doing with all these kids. I mean, we know what they're doing. And by the way, I'm so glad I thought of this. You need to understand who the new Pope that they put in place, evil. They're all evil. He's former Jesuit. They're all evil. Not a one of them loves you, cares about you, wants the best for you. Not one. Not one. Okay, so don't make any mistake or find or believe in any kind of illusion that the Pope is there to help you. The Catholic Church is there to serve you. No, it's there to destroy you. That's why they're there. They're there to ensure that you are destroyed. That's why they're there. So don't listen to Pope. Don't listen. They're all evil. Okay. Yes, there are many contradictions in the Bible. Yes, there are. Okay. What's your astrology? So I'm a Gemini. My feature planet is Mercury. It's pretty clear that I'm supposed to be a communicator. It wasn't until I started doing these videos and stuff that I really seemed to find a stride with something that's natural to me. I'm an engineer also, and it comes pretty natural to me. But this whole thing of interacting with the public on this level is something that's fairly new to me, which is incredible. And so it falls right in line with being a Gemini and Mercury. Okay. Yes, that's correct. What is happening there? Yes, Gretchen, the doctrine of hijack. Exactly. Folks, understand, the Bible has been twisted. You do not have an authentic copy. Okay, if you want to believe you have an authentic copy, you just keep believing that. You just keep believing yourself on that. Go ahead, knock yourself out thinking that you have an authentic copy. You don't. In fact, the King James Version was formatted by a Freemason who we know ate children. And the King James Bible is readily used by all the Mennonites. They won't use any other Bible. Do they have any idea that their Bible was edited by a pedophile, pedivore? Do you think they have any idea of that? No. All of these texts that they claim are holy have all been twisted. All the stories of Jesus, all the stories of the disciples, all the stories in the Old Testament, all these things are twisted around. Do you remember that game you played in kindergarten where someone would, at the beginning of a line of 20 people, would whisper a phrase in the first person's ear, and then they would whisper the phrase, and the next person, the next person, the next person? That's your version of the Bible. That's what you got. And about 100 or 200 or 300 voices down the road is where you are. I mean, think of the impact that would have for a person if they actually believed that and they were a diehard born-again Christian and they actually came to terms with that thought. It's like when I had to come to terms, like when I first started using some magic mushrooms, I was trying to shape them into a Christian ontology. I was trying to shape my experience into something that had to do with Jesus, forgiveness of sins, being a sinner. I was trying to equate it into that world. I did that for years. And it wasn't until I took a big enough dose, which was 40 fresh grams of penis envy, was the kind of mushroom that I took, that I ate, fresh. And I, about an hour and a half later, was sitting in my living room, and all of a sudden, this thought came into my head that said, hey, Chuck, what if Jesus never lived, there was no such thing as sin, and there was no need to be forgiven? What then? And I remember panicking, and thinking, wait a minute. No, that has to be true. No, I'm a sinner. No, you have to have, no, that you do not have peace. You do not have eternity. You do not know God without Jesus. And I fought that until finally the question penetrated and I realized, what am I doing? What am I believing? What is this doing to me? Psychology. This was the beginning of my book. And I began to study the psychology of thinking that you're a sinner. I began to study the psychology of group mind. And the basic psychology, which is the science of the mind, awakened me to realize that is not a good idea. That is actually really bad tutelage, especially for a child. Convincing a child that they're prone to fall, convincing a child that they're a sinner. Seriously. I mean, I looked at the psychology of that and I'm like, well, it's no wonder people are the way that they are. It's no wonder. This idea that they're fallen has been beaten into them since they're a child, and it's basically the worst psychology you can use to raise a child. Seriously. Don't know what else to tell you. I mean, that's just a fact, Jack. Okay. Have you ever done your full birth chart? I don't know, Blue Velvet. I hope I have. I've done extensive charts. I've done extensive runs with it, but I don't know if I've actually done my full birth chart. Okay. Yes, welcome to the program. Exactly. Okay. So here, religious, thank you, Cat Kiss, religious fascism in general, controlling others with threat of violence, death, imprisonment. If you read 1984, boom, dude, yeah. If you read 1984, it is about a society hijacked in this way. Black is white, up is down. Exactly. Folks, if you haven't read 1984, that book is basically our world, like told in 1984 terms. Like it's a captured world that is filled with nothing but obedience, and like there's this enormous threat on people if they don't obey and follow the rules, and you have to take certain pills at certain times of the day. It's a whole controlled society, totally controlled. And it really will help you when you see the book. This is the critical. When you see the book and the imagery of the book, you will then have triggers in your brain go off saying, hey, wait a minute, there's something similar going on down at the hospital. There's something that went on similarly when my mom or dad or whatever was fighting cancer. And what they're describing here in this book and the control, and that they had to follow a certain protocol, and the doctor wasn't willing to work with them unless they followed the protocol. That sounds like the kind of stuff they were talking about in 1984. That book will help you connect. It will show it to you. Yes, George Orwell in animated form. That's exactly right. Yes, exactly. I agree with you. You know what, dude, Lancelot, I am right there with you. I am right there with you. Seriously, I am right there with you, man. That's one of the most amazing things that I think is when someone, like if I have a conversation with someone and we have reasonable discussion, like we're not yelling and we're just having a dialogue, it is unbelievable to me when I talk to them about the stuff that I write about and about religion as a control system, how they can't see it. When I was leaving the church, this was in 2013. And I was leaving the church and I had a conversation with the head psychologist of the church that I was working. And I sat and I had a 2-hour conversation with him in the studio that I worked with. And when we finally got to the end of I swear to God, this is what happened. We finally got to the end of the conversation. We are literally sitting in my office in the church. My dad is literally one wall away. And I'm having this heretical conversation with him. And he says to me, you know what, Chuck? I wish I had never talked to you because now I have concepts in my head I will not be able to get out. And it's making me question everything I believe. Quite an honest statement to be coming from a pastor. Seriously, quite an honest statement. And I told him that. I gave him a hug and I said, you know what? That's the first step to freedom, actually, to liberation, is just contemplating the thought. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe the heresy I share with you, but just let that thought bounce around in your head. That thought of, is it really a good idea to give my brain to an institution? Just in general, is that a generally good idea to just hand over my spiritual side of my brain and how I concept spirituality, and I just hand that to a group? Just hand it to them. You guys tell me what to say, tell me what to do, bestow upon me the rules. Is that how you foster a child? You know, seriously, this is one of the things I also thought about. Can't say, you know, is this, do you foster a child by saying, okay, the rest of your life, I want you to think just like me. I want you to make similar decisions just like I make. I want you to live in a similar place that I live. I want you to read similar books or the same books that I've read my whole life. And I don't want you to think any other way but the way that I think. Would any reasonable parent do that? A parent that genuinely loves their child and wants their child to grow and to expand and do their thing. Would any reasonable parent do that? Okay? No. So why do you think God does that through Christianity? Why does Christianity teach this is how you do it? This is what you are. This is what the world is. This is how you believe. This is what you do. This is your meaning in life. It's just like a parent sitting down with their child and telling them those things. They would never do that. A loving parent would never do that. A loving God would never want you to be in fear of it. Would never say to you, hey, you need to know, in approaching me, fear is the beginning of wisdom, pal. Would any parent do that? Any loving parent? No. No parent would ever want their child to be afraid of them. Do you want your child afraid of you? Do you? No. So why are you teaching your kids to be afraid of God? This was common sense to me, and it falls right in. It's hard to believe the amount of people who can't see this. This is basic psychology. I am not throwing advanced technique to your brother. This isn't even Psych 102. This is Psych 101. You become what you believe. If your parents hammer it into you your whole life that you're a sinner, guess what you're going to act like when you become an adult? A sinner. Lo and behold, how can it be? You see what I'm saying? It's incredible. People can't see it. They refuse to see it. I'm afraid of Chuck right now. No, you're not. I'm just passionate. This is a good time. Yes, cognitive dissonance is horrible. That's exactly right. Exactly. Fear, wasted energy. You're exactly right. Yeah, that's a good line there. Thank you for that, DB. The first act of disobedience is contemplation. That's exactly right. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? It's 7:45. I've been at this an hour and 45 minutes. We didn't have any extension on the front end of this thing. And I don't know if you guys are saturated. Let's see if I can find a question here. If you guys want me to keep going, I can keep going. Yeah, it is. 84 of Communist Manifest. Exactly. Because they have to tell you. This is, what is that called? It's the, what is that line? Maybe someone in the comments will think of it. It's the fulfillment. What is that? When they have to tell you so that the karma doesn't come back to them. What is that called? Thank you, Tilly Mist. Thank you. Those are good words. Thank you for that. But what is that line? The revelation of the method. That's it. The revelation of the method. Okay. That's why they do what they do and they show you what they show you, because they have to show you, like in all the Disney movies, all the whack porn that's in the Disney movies, they have to do these images to reverse the revelation of the method so that the karma that they're putting into the world doesn't come back to them negatively. So they have to reveal to you the revelation. They have to show you the revelation so that they don't get caught up in the evil karma that they're generating. Okay. Yeah, exactly. It isn't common. Okay, you were going to touch on colors. Okay, you guys want to keep going? Let's keep going. Let's knock them out. Let's go for it. Okay, so let's touch on colors. Here we go. Oh, I got to get rid of that. Hang on, sorry. Thank you so much. What a talk, Chuck. I am moved for the better. Thank you so much, Force. You are very kind to say that. Thank you. That's very kind of you to say that. Thank you. It is gross. Okay. Here we are. In the tarot, colors are far more than visual elements. They are profound symbols that convey spiritual, psychological, and archetypal meanings. Colors are dynamic forces. Each carry a unique vibration that shapes the card's message. Okay, now there's the soul's journey. That's the hero's journey. That's another thing I'm hoping to do next week, is to map the hero's journey across the major arcana, because that's the soul's journey. Okay. Media assets. Here we are. Next, red, the color of fire and vitality. Symbolic associations. Red embodies fire, blood, and the life force. It signifies passion, energy, action, and the primal will to survive. This is the Muladhara, the first chakra. Red is tied to the root chakra, Muladhara, anchoring the individual in the physical realm, and to Mars, the planet of war and assertiveness, representing both creation and destruction. Okay, red, fire, a fiery color. Red is very prominent in the tarot, appearing in the Magician, Justice, Hierophant, and Emperor robes. It highlights figures of power, passion, action, and radical energy. So as you look at all the cards on your right, the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Magician, Justice. Look at Justice. I mean, deep red. These are characters of action. Even look at the sun. You have this enormous veil that is filling the image. Okay, this is action. This is fire. Look at Strength. That's my card. The lion is full of fire, full of action. And it's the work of the Strength card to learn to tame that fire without words, but simply through action, which is the hands there. Okay, contextual use. Red is very prominent in the tarot, appearing in the Magician, Justice, Hierophant, and Emperor robes. It highlights figures of, oh, I just read that, sorry. Red corresponds to fire, the element of inspiration, ambition, and burning transformation. It is directly related to the wand suit in its creative function. Okay. See? There's two slides per color. The color of fire and vitality, emotional and spiritual impact. Red stirs intense emotions, passion, courage, or anger. Spiritually, it urges the seeker to tap their inner vitality and act decisively. Though if left unchecked, this energy leads to recklessness and addiction. This is how the cards show you how something is both valuable as well as something that will destroy you. It's the perfect picture of a fire. The fireplace, the potbelly stove, can warm the entire house. I mean, actually make it feel amazing. I mean, that's one of the great things I love about winter, is having a really toasty house. There's something about walking out from the cold and into this warm, dry home that is so inviting. Okay, that's the work of fire. This is the creative imagination. Think of the same warm little fireplace in your brain Okay, it's a lovely place, but the fire gets out of the fireplace. If it gets out of your mind, meaning you get crazy, it's going to burn your entire world down. You see, the same element that brings you warmth, love, happiness, and joy is the same one that will bring you death, the end, incineration, and fire. You see? You see? So that is the way all of this is. And you need to understand, in a world that is composed of both now you see it, now you don't, this is why it's like that. This is why it's like that. This is why love is an emotion that will actually absolutely make you, and it is also an emotion that will absolutely break you. Now you see it, now you don't. All of life is that way because we are waves. We are here and gone. Just like the location of the galaxy in the Milky Way. It's here one day, and the next day it ain't there anymore, and it ain't coming back for a long time. See, and that's life, and that's beautiful. This is to be embraced. Red stirs intense emotions, passion, courage, or anger. Spiritually, it urges the seeker to tap in their inner vitality and act decisively. Though if left unchecked, and this energy leads to recklessness and addiction. It symbolizes life, blood, and death, sacrifice across cultures. Red is the alchemical rubedo stage, where the soul achieves enlightenment through fiery trials. This is known as calcination in alchemy. Red is the hue of initiation and transformation, pushing the seeker to embrace their power while balancing its intensity with wisdom. And you guys have heard me mention calcination 1,000 times. That's that picture of that dude that's his head is being put in an oven and all of his ideas are leaving his brain. This is the mushroom trip. That's the mushroom trip. All your common thoughts, all the way you always assume things, all the way that you see things are all blown out of your mind. Blown out of your mind, and you come out of the experience with an empty mind, and not in the sense of stupidity, but in the sense of awareness, like, holy smokes, I can see so much more now that my mind is not blinded with preset ideas, someone else's thoughts, someone else's worlds. I can now see my world myself without the filter of that other. This is authenticity. How does nature speak to you most effectively? Through the authentic voice. The authentic voice, because your heart, what is your heart? Your heart is authenticity. That's why it hears the authentic voice of nature, because it doesn't hear words. That's why you can't tell your heart who to love. You can't tell your heart who to like. Your heart decides those things. It doesn't give a rat's ass what you think. Doesn't care. It has its own way. And you come into accord with that. That's one of the ways of life of finding peace, is coming into accord with your heart, with the way that it is, and it will not be changed. It won't. It doesn't bow to anyone. It doesn't obey anything. It is of itself so. It is of itself so. No need for explanation. It is of itself so, just like nature, the Tao. It is of itself so. It shines its own light. It casts its own perfection. It doesn't ask permission. It isn't seeking your approval. It isn't expecting your reproof. It is not a slave. You are to be the same way, because that's the authentic you. That's why it's not a good idea to be asking God permission, seeking God's approval, expecting God's reproof. You're not a slave. This is what colors, symbols in the tarot teach you. It is all within you. The fire of red, it's in you. No one needs to put it in there. You have the red fire, the red color in you. In you. And its symbolism is this. There it is. You also have inside of you the blue color of water and intuition. Do you have intuition in you? You certainly do. Symbolic associations. Blue represents water, emotions, intuition, and the subconscious. It evokes the vastness of sky and sea, symbolizing depth, peace, and infinity. Blue is associated with the throat chakra, communication, and the feminine principle of receptivity and wisdom. Blue is actually my favorite color, believe it or not. Contextual use. Blue graces the high priestess's robe, temperance's wings, and the stars' serene waters, marking cards of introspection, healing, and spiritual insight. And by the way, any of you that get that high priestess right there, third from the top right there, that is pure intuition. That card is the subconscious defined. I mean, look at all the moons. She's got a moon on her head. She's got a moon on the center of her head. She's got a moon at her feet. Folks, this is the subconscious world. I think the posts right there on left and right are Jacob and Boaz, or Jacon, something like that, and Boaz. And these are the polarities of life, the polarities of the subconscious. I mean, when you dream, do you sometimes have nightmares and sometimes have where you're flying or in love? It's all within you, folks. It is all within you. Blue graces the high priest. I read that. Tied elemental connection, tied to water. Blue flows through the cup's suit, reflecting feelings, relationships, and emotional clarity. It's just so freaking beautiful, man. This stuff, this imagery and symbolism is so freaking beautiful. Emotional and spiritual impact. Blue instills calm, trust, and serenity. It invites the seeker to explore their inner depths, trust their intuition, and seek truth beyond the material to evoke empathy and understanding. Let me ask you a question, folks. Can you trust your intuition if you think your heart is dirty? Can you trust your intuition, if you think that you're dirty, your heart is dirty, that you're a sinner, that you have to be saved? Can you trust your intuition? Can you even trust the answer to that question if you think you're dirty? Because if you think your intuition is untrustworthy, how do you trust your intuition that you're untrustworthy? That's called a double bind. Every single religious fanatic is in that space. They're in that space. Because if you believe you're a sinner, but then you also believe the notion that you think you're a sinner, you're in a double bind, because you can't trust a sinner. So how can you trust the opinion of a sinner? How can you trust your own opinion? You can't trust yourself. You have to trust God, you see. And God is an idea in your head, not your heart. How about them apples, folks? Seriously. Common sense is going to get you there. Common sense. Follow the line and common sense will get you there. The color of air and intellect is yellow. This is the mind. This is the mind. This is wisdom. That's why there's so many cards with it. It's wisdom and liberation. Yellow, the card of the sun, symbolizes intellect, clarity, and enlightenment. It represents mental power, logic, and communication. It is the solar plexus chakra, Manipura, and Mercury, the planet of intellect. Interesting, that's my principal planet. So mine is communication and intellect. Contextual use. Yellow shines in the fool's sky, the sun's radiance. Isn't that interesting? Both the fool and the sun are predominantly yellow. You notice that? That's the kind of thing you can contemplate and think about as you lay in your bed at night wondering about yourself. It illuminates moments of insight, judgment, joy, sun, or divine presence, the magician. Elemental connection associated with air. Yellow governs thought and truth, resonating with the swords suite. So yellow coincides with the swords like blue coincides with the cups. The color of air. Okay, emotional and spiritual impact. Yellow inspires optimism, confidence, and mental agility. It encourages clear thinking and authentic expression. But over-rationalizing, here it is. You think too much, over-rationalizing, that's called theology, and disconnecting from emotion, again called theology, comes as warnings with the color. So if you get too theologic, what happens? You lose touch with the world past words. And what's the real world? The world past words. Don't get caught up in your intellect. That's ego. Don't get caught up in what you know. Get caught up in the now. Get caught up in the experience that you are having. That's the side that's worth getting caught up in. Okay, did we do the second slide? No. Okay, second yellow. Yellow inspires optimism. Yeah, confidence and mental agility. It encourages clear thinking and authentic expression, but over-rationalizing and disconnecting from emotion comes warnings with the color, needless to say. Yellow signifies enlightenment, halos, and also caution, the hermit. In alchemy, it is the citrinitas, the dawning of clarity or solar light. Yellow illumines the mind, urging the seeker to shine their intellectual light while grounding in spirit. Pretty self-explanatory there. Green, the color of earth and growth. Green embodies the earth, growth, fertility, and nature. It symbolizes renewal, balance, and life. It is tied to the heart chakra, love, and Venus, the planet of light and harmony. Green flourishes in the Empress and Temperance fields, the world's wreath, and the moon's surface, emphasizing spiritual essence, potential, and growth. Elemental connection linked to earth, green anchors the Pentacle suite, representing stability and prosperity. That's a really important color, just like the Pentacle suite is very important, because it's easy to become mastered by materialism, and you're going to have to walk that line of not getting caught up in it while actually enjoying the sensorial experience. Because, I mean, why did your soul come here? Think about it. Why did it come here? Think about it. To experience the finite, to experience the moment, because there's no separation. There's only oneness. So this world, this material world, offers the ability of the sensorial experience, which is beautiful, which is unique. You know, I don't know what it's like. I can only guess what it's like on the other side of this material body. But I really am convinced now at this point in my life that we have this body to have an awesome experience and to really engage the material world. You just can't get caught up in it, or it's going to rule you. But there's nothing wrong with enjoying the material world. I mean, my goodness. I mean, think of how awesome it is to travel. Think of how awesome it is to try new foods. Think of how awesome it is to swim in a new pool or in a new place, or to experience a storm or rain falling on your face, listening to the snowfall. These are experiences that enrich you and are only available in this material experience. So this is to be celebrated, just not caught up in it. And so there's a balance. That's why it's important to know this stuff, because it helps create a balance. Okay. Symbolic associations. White represents purity, divinity, and spiritual awakening. It is light itself, symbolizing truth and unity. White is linked to the crown chakra and the moon's wisdom through reflection. White adorns the high priestess robe, strength's gown, and also the chariot, death, and sun horses. This signals enlightenment, spiritual authority, and purity. White transcends elements by integrating all colors into a unified whole. Have you thought about that? White is all colors. Now, some of you may not know this, but if you take pure light, I think it's green, yellow, and blue, I think, or red or something, and you combine them, they make white light. It's been so long since I've been in tech, I've forgotten now, but they make white light. Red, green, blue, RGB, that's what it is. And so some folks might not know that, but white is actually all colors, which is beautiful to think about. White offers peace and transcendence, urging the seeker to purify intentions and embrace their higher self, while shedding ego concerns, of course. White signifies purity in mystery schools and peace, the dove, in many religions. In alchemy, it is the albedo, the stage of cleansing and purifying. White is the divine spark that guides the seeker to truth and unity. Okay. To get through these slides, this is what I'm going to do, you guys. This is what I'm going to do, because I want to get through the colors. It's 8 o'clock now. I like to go about 2.5 hours. So it's going to take me about 15 minutes. I'm going to read through these slides to get through the colors. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to comments and answer any questions. And then next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up with the Celtic cross I pulled last night, which is just freaking mind-boggling. I'm going to show you guys that, and we're going to walk through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the practicality of all that you've learned. So these symbols and colors and different kinds of cards, we're going to begin to apply what we know, so that when you go out and you do your thing with the tarot, you'll better understand what these symbols mean and why it is so applicable and important to your life, why it matters, and taking time to engage nature in this way to begin to open your faculty, open your world to a world past the theological one that maybe you're dissolved in. So maybe we can get a little bit past that. Okay. Gold, the color of divinity and achievement. Linked to the Philosopher's Stone, gold signifies divinity, enlightenment, and attainment. It's the sun's radiance, symbolizing success and spiritual perfection. Gold crowns the tarot masters, halos the sun, and encircles the world, marking triumph, strength, and divine presence. Gold unites fire and earth, the illumination and destruction, as well as the manifestation and consumption. Gold inspires joy and reverence, calling for the pursuit of one's highest potential and recognition of the divine. Gold denotes royalty and divinity universally. It is the magnum opus, the great work of alchemical transformation from lead, sleep, into gold, wakefulness. Gold is the soul's true wealth, reflecting spiritual enlightenment, awareness, and transcendence. And notice there the work of alchemical transformation from lead into gold. And what is often mistaken is that all these alchemists, what they were trying to do is just trying to find a way to turn lead into gold. That's the misnomer. That's what they wanted you to think on the outside, but that's not actually what's happening. What they're doing when they transform lead into gold is transforming the mind from inawareness to awareness. That's what they're talking about. That's what the alchemist is doing. He's not trying to find a quick way to make a bunch of money. It has actually nothing to do with that at all. It is actually engaging the material world to learn from it, not to be consumed by it. There's a big difference there. Okay. Purple. Embodying spirituality, wisdom, and authority, purple blends red action and blue intuition, tying it to the third eye chakra and Jupiter. Isn't that an amazing connection there? It combines red and blue. So the energy of those colors make the purple. And what is red is action. What is blue? The heart. And this makes purple. Isn't that freaking beautiful? I mean, when you see into this stuff, man, it's incredible. Purple is the backdrop of justice, girds the magician, blends into the wings of judgment and temperance while entwining the world, all which signify the spiritual girding and mastery of these cards. Purple balances fire and water, and so it symbolically suggests a fully integrated wisdom. Isn't that freaking beautiful? Purple evokes reverence and mystery, urging I'm getting tired. Purple evokes reverence and mystery, urging spiritual mastery through compassionate outpouring. Purple marks royalty and sacred traditions, historically Roman emperors, Catholic priests, and religious vestments. Purple represents spiritual sovereignty. It balances power and wisdom to convey its authority. Gray. Gray signifies neutrality, balance, and the middle path. That's why the gray is in the middle of the yin-yang. That's the middle way. Blending black and white, tying it to equilibrium and the hermit's robe. Gray is the emperor's seat. The hierophant and justice columns, cloaks the hermit, backgrounds the hanged man, balances the lovers, and squares the chariot sphinxes. Did you ever have any idea that gray was this important in the tarot? It's a very important color. Gray is the threshold between elements, the sun, the equalizer of powers, the emperor, and heralds transformation, judgment. Wow, gray is powerful. Gray brings calm and ambiguity, encouraging discernment and peace, even in uncertainty. Gray symbolizes humility, the tower, and life's complexity, the hanged man. I mean, think about this. Look at the 1, 2, 3 down, the hanged man, death, temperance, the devil, the tower, everything but the star. Look at all the gray. Even the devil's wings are gray. Gray teaches wisdom through balance and acceptance of difficulty. Well, I promise you, the devil is going to deliver you difficulty. I promise you that. Okay, now let's go to show here. Brown, the color of earth and grounding. Brown represents earth, stability, and the physical. It's soil and mountain, path and stabilizer, sense and practicality, tied to the root chakra and the builder archetype. Brown symbolizes the wheel of fortune and the moon while balancing the sun and the hanged man. You see, he's hanging from a brown tree. Brown balances the emperor while centering the wheel of fortune. Gray and brown are centering, balancing colors. Brown offers a sense of practicality and simplicity, urging a grounding approach saturated with humbleness. Brown links to humility, while in it, the path of temperance and soil's fertile potential. Brown is the earth's embrace, a haven of foundation, and roots spiritual growth into the physical world. That's pretty self-explanatory there. Orange. Now, what I couldn't get, maybe you guys can help me. Now, it seems that all of the skin colors are orange. So in a way, what are bodies? in the mature world. They're bodies of creativity, enthusiasm, and novelty, right? Right? So when they're conveyed as orange here, that's exactly what they are. An embodiment of creativity. And what have I said? The creative force, the most powerful force in the universe. Well, then why do you think you are a creative creature? What does that mean? That means you're one of the most powerful forces in the universe. You are composed of creativity. You exude creativity. It comes out of you like fire. It grows of itself. It just comes out. You see? Yeah, that's your being. You're composed of creativity. Orange blends red's passion. Follow this. Red's passion and yellow's clarity. See, your creativity brings about fire and clarity, symbolizing creativity and vitality. It's tied to the sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, the second, and the artist's archetype. I'm an artist, so I can understand that. But can you see how important orange is? I mean, every single color is important in these symbols. And that's how you begin to enliven this deck and understand yourself better as a result. You see yourself in it because you're orange. You are in these images, these dreams. Orange brings warmth and excitement, encouraging bold fearlessness and unbounded joy. I mean, is there any other way to live? Fearless. Is there any other way to live? Orange marks vitality. Harvest, the seed of the Empress. Look at the seed of the Empress. Top in the middle there, number 3. Look at that girl. She is sitting on creative fire. Look at the blanket below her seat is red. This girl is all about denoting action. She uses her wand to bring about the world that she wants. And so that's why she's not standing. She is able to use her creativity and passion to ignite others to make it happen. You see, she is a principal figure. She's a master. She understands the creative fire, and she will render that to the world through her wand, through her creativity. You see, she brings about, doesn't nature instigate action in you? Just like she instigates action with her wand. This is the power of nature at work, instigating creativity and bringing it about in others. You see, and that's the work of the Empress. She's Mother Nature. And what does nature crave? What does it want more than anything? Novelty, creativity, fire, energy, passion, giving yourself to the world. And that's why she is sitting on orange, making it schlappen. Okay. Orange marks vitality. Okay, read all that. Okay, orange is the soul's creative fire, inspiring passion and exploration. Creativity is as much a curse as it is a boon, is it not? The curse of the creative. I mean, that's a quote that one of my artist friends uses all the time, the curse of the creative, because it really is a curse, because it's coming out of you. And like you feel this urgency, I've got to paint, I got to speak, I got to write. It's coming out of me. And so you can see that as a curse, and you can also see it as a boon. It just depends on your perspective, you see? Okay. Pink. Pink represents love, gentleness, fostering, and healing. It is tied to the heart chakra, anahata, and Venus magnetism. Remember, Dr. Campbell spoke about anahata. What is the sound that is made by two things not striking together? That's the heart chakra. Pink softens the wings of temperance and judgment and colors the lover's roses with compassion. That beautiful. Pink flows with water, nurturing emotions and incurring sensitivity. Pink warms with affection, urging vulnerability and self-love. It accords nature with authenticity. Pink evokes romance, the lovers, and divine balance of temperance. Pink is the heart's gentle wisdom, healing through love. 3 more slides, folks. Silver. Silver embodies intuition, the moon, and the feminine divine. It is tied to the third eye chakra. Interestingly, that must be the chrome aspect, the shine. And the high priestess archetype. Silver graces the high priestess moon headdress, noting her mastery. It colors the armor of the chariot and death, the moon's light, and the stars' skies. Isn't that interesting? Silver reflects water's intuitive depths while enrobing the lover's angel. Silver calms and mystifies, urging trust in the inner vision. It imparts intuition to the patiently reflective, the Hierophant. And that's why you see top right, look at the 2 pillars of balance, silver. Notice the difference between the high priestess, who has the black and white pillar, and the Hierophant, just a few cards over. It's gray. Now see, there's dynamism showing in the high priestess. There's balance showing in the Hierophant. Neither is above the other. Can you see that? This is part of intuitively understanding the cards. Dynamism there on the left, being able to walk into the dynamic state and remain calm. That is locating yourself in the center of the wheel of the yin yang. The center never is out of place. It is always in the middle. Whereas the further out on the yin yang you go, the more chaos you incur. You see, dynamisms, the more dynamisms you incur. And so what the slide is showing you here, the Hierophant is showing you that he's in the gray portion. This is a more balanced approach. Whereas the high priestess, go for it. This is your subconscious, dive right in, buddy, and live in the dynamics. Both will teach you. The balanced life of the Hierophant on the right and the dynamic life of the high priestess on the left, both afford you knowledge, wisdom, understanding, experience. In other words, don't value one or the other. Stop putting the world together through hierarchy. Embrace and coalesce with these energies that are part of you and are you. Silver protects with amulets, partners gold in alchemy, and conveys the moon's intuitive knowingness. It is the soul's reflective light illuminating the unseen. And then finally, multicolors are last color. Symbolic associations, multicolored imagery unites all energies, symbolizing wholeness, oneness, and the rainbow's bridge. It's also tied to the Philosopher's Stone in its unifying aspect. That's interesting and beautiful. Rainbow's arch in the Ten of Cups, the Fool's tunic sparkles, and the world's wreath glows. These are uniting principles in the cards. Multicolor integrates all elements into harmony. And then finally, our last slide tonight. Multicolored scenes inspire joy and wonder, embracing life's diversity. Variety is a strength, not a weakness. Amen to that. Rainbows signify hope, Noah, renewal, and transformation. How you guys doing? Let's go to the comments for some final words, and we'll call it a night. You guys have any questions? You're welcome. Appreciate this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you guys being here. So, okay, this is a good question. So they come from Egypt, come out of the Book of Thoth. The alchemists and the ancient Egyptian priests, Egyptian priests pulled them out of the Egyptian knowledge. And to be honest, their history is controversial. Not everybody subscribes to the idea that they came out of Egypt. But from my research and what I've studied and the little bit that we have access to, I found that it's all from Egypt, that these things come out of the ancient Egyptian empire. And I mean, if you think about how advanced, that group was, I mean, not the ones who inherited it, like we talked about. Remember in our little media assets here, I'll show you. See, Egypt was an inheritance. Okay, right there. It was a byproduct of agriculture, and then Egypt was inherited. But the actual pyramid culture, if you look at the top left, according to Cliff High, that happened in 45,000. So there was actually, what would that be, 40,000 or so years between the building of the pyramids there on the left and then the claiming of the pyramids by the Egyptians there when Egypt is inherited, where you see it in the blue there in the middle. And so there's theories, there's people who think that it was out of this Egyptian culture that the tarot cards blossomed and came about. Yeah, Egypt is not Egypt. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Is tarot from Kabbalah? No, it is not. It predates Kabbalah. Kabbalah is like 17th, 18th century. Tarot is going back to BC. Tarot is going way, way back. So it's far before Kabbalah. No, see, that's what they want you to think. They want you to think it's trivial. Okay, the controllers want you to think, always remember this, I'll finish with this. The controllers always want you to think that the real things that matter and cause transformation are trivial. They never want you really getting into this stuff. They want you afraid of it, running from it, and thinking, it's just BS. I'm just going to follow this one book. I'm just going to follow this one man. I'm just going to follow this one group. You see, and then they just ostracize anything that gives you a free thought, anything that makes you think outside the box they put you in. And that's why it was trivialized. That's why its history is so shady. They don't want you to know the history because it ties into these ancient societies. Remember, the ancient societies that predate us? We're not the first, not even close to the first people. So societies that well predated us, okay, those were advanced societies. That's why they're making pyramids. That's why they're making monoliths. That's why you see those walls where it looks like all the rocks look like they molded together, like they were once bubbles or something. And the wall, they can't even repeat the flatness of the perfection to this day. With modern technology, they cannot repeat the walls that were built by societies supposedly that were just Stone Age and working with copper and rocks. That's what they want you to think. That's what they want you to think. Stupefy history. Stupefy the society. Stupefy the educational systems. Just make everything stupid and make everyone stupid. Because the dumber people are, the easier they are to control because they don't know any better. That's why wisdom is bright light, white, yellow, gold light, because it frees you. You are not free if your mind is entrapped in the cage it was put in, either as a child or as an adult. You are not free. You are not free when you think, if I say this prayer, if I say these words, then I'm free. No, you're actually putting yourself further into the shackles when you do that, when you believe that, when you think that. You are enslaving yourself when you think, I need to be freed by some external force. That right there imprisons you, right there. And you will wait until the day you die for your Savior, and your Savior will never come because your Savior is inside here. It's called your heart. It is what will save you. How does it save you? It opens your mind. That's why they don't, that's why mushrooms are a Schedule I drug. They don't want you taking something that will make you start thinking, that will break you out of the box. And so they make it so illegal that only the most extreme people will risk themselves to realize that, because they don't want you waking up. They just want you as a part of the herd, mooing, doing nothing but chewing your cud all day. They don't want you building. They don't want you inventing. They don't want you thinking for yourself. On and on. I've said enough. I love you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Good stuff, Chuck. Thanks for running this. Thank you so much, King. I appreciate that very much. And yes, you are correct, friend. Thank you, 9mm heater. They did almost have us. You are exactly right. We were precarious, folks. If you think about our situation in the 60s, how precarious the situation was. Yeah, see, I know. I'm trying, though, Imram. I'm trying. Thank you. Thank you, Grimes Korea. Thank you so much. I appreciate you also. Thank you for being here. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your taking the time. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for your questions. And you guys know what we're doing next week, so I'll just keep on that this next week. And we're going to start application next week. And as a matter of fact, now I think about it, you guys, some of you, if you want, write me and tell me what you got for your Celtic cross, okay? And I'll use some of you guys, write to me at my contact Chuck Jr. at yahoo.com is my email. Write to me there and tell me card 1, card 2, card 3, card 4, card 5. There's 10 cards. Tell me the 10 cards according to the Celtic cross, and then I will then interpret it next week. Okay? So y'all, anyone who wants to do that, just send me your layout, or send me a picture of it. Even better, send me a picture of it, and make sure the cards that are inverted. Don't just make all your cards right side up. It's important that the cards that are inverted stay inverted. Send me that picture, and I'll translate it for you next week, okay? All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Thank you.